Welcome, folks, to Practice Live. Practice Live is a monthly podcast where we talk about what it means to really be here with folks from all over the world in a multitude of disciplines. Um, yep. My name is Meg McCoy, and I'm here today with Lauralee Carey, and we're going to get into a conversation about caregiving and more, probably so much more than we even know about. And usually, my guest is on another screen, but we happen to live in the same town, so this is pretty lovely to be able to be live together. You ready?
I'm ready, honey. Yes, I'm ready.
So, what's important for us to know about you, about who you are, about where you've come from, and what would you say about who you are?
Who I am. I'm finding out who I am, actually.
Rad.
Frankly. People ask me, well, I think even you did, what's your calling? And I was like, I don't really know. I don't have a calling. I mean, I've been a caregiver for a long time to a lot of different people, but I would have never thought that's my calling.
Ooh, let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna interrupt you. I'm gonna interrupt. So I've been feeling into callings because I think that there's a lot of assumption that callings and vocation are the same, and I wouldn't say that that's true exclusively. I think how we show up in the world for work is often related to callings, but callings are often an energy that rides underneath, that's going to take on any form that it can from a bigger body. Like when I think about the word calling, I'm like, who is emitting the call? And in a way, life could be emitting the call.
Right.
And part of that has expressed like caregiving, which you wouldn't have like been like,
right. I think this is what I want to do when I grow up. I've been doing it my whole life. I think I want to keep doing it. But it's just kept cropping up even as a young person, as a kid.
Yeah.
I was the take care person in the house, cook meals, clean. My mom was a single mother frequently. And a lot of the household responsibility stuff fell on me. Yeah. Even like 8, 9 years old, making dinner and all that stuff. So it's just kind of been a part of who I am.
Yep.
All along. And I've even teenager in my 20s, I really liked old people.
Yeah.
So I would go shopping for them, clean their house, whatever they needed. And as an adult, at various times, I went through the COPES program here and took care of elderly people, some with dementia, some without, lived with some of them. Some of them just went in, a couple times a month.
Yep.
And then my mom's husband got sick in 2016, and I started plugging into their lives, taking care of both of them. And then my mom's dementia started around 2017, 2018.
This has been a long run.
It's been a long run.
Yeah.
That, well, I'm taking care of all these other old people. Why wouldn't I take care of my mother? So it was just more kind of like duty, I guess. But I really had to early on not feel like I had to be here, that I wanted to be here. And that's what made it be able to work for me, as opposed to I have to do this.
That's pretty profound.
It's like, I want to do this. What's more important right now in my life? Working at the restaurant, running a cash register, or taking care of my mother?
Yeah.
And luckily, she's pretty easy. She doesn't have sundowners. She doesn't wander. She likes staying in bed. She's pretty much always in a good mood. For the most part, she does get, nasty sometimes.
We all get ornery.
Yeah, that's what I had to even realize too. It's like, oh, she's getting angry. And people say, you need to get her some drugs so she's not angry. And I'm thinking, like, I get angry.
Yeah.
Everybody gets angry.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't she get angry?
Ooh, thank you for that. I want to pause for that for a second, because I feel like that gives feeling of the humanization and humanization of people with dementia. That it's not, if we're expected to be without emotion, without reaction, without feeling, That's dehumanizing.
Right. It's like she should be pissed off. Her mind's going. I'd be pissed off too if I, knew. And there's certain times when she does know it. Not so much anymore now, but I'd say 6 months ago, we were sitting in there and in the other room, and I could just see the look on her face. I'm like, "What's the matter?" And she went, "Your brain." And she knew. Are you mad? Yep.
Yeah.
Are you sad? Yep. I'm sorry. Let's just figure out what to do.
Yep.
While you were here. So I had to just accept and let her have her feelings around it all, instead of like, well, you're demented, you don't know what you're talking about. Inside of her, I think she knows what's going on. Not all the time.
Yeah.
And I think lots of times she forgets stuff. But I think the feeling, the vibe of that she's messed up.
Yeah.
Lingers.
Yep. My husband's mom had dementia, and in the early stages, she would say she could feel the process of the disintegration. Like she could feel the disintegration and how disorienting that was. And of course, even the recognition of that, her journey was a long journey. I think it was like 12 or 15 years. That recognition stopped, but that stuck with me that he said that, because you're not without awareness. Like you can feel parts of the process happening, and it's.
Yeah. And I used to take care of this lady. I lived with her for a couple of years that had dementia. She was 94, 96, something like that. And very healthy, otherwise active. And she would take her shoes off at night and put them in the chair and cover them with something. And I found myself going over there, straightening up what she did. And it made me think, like, who's like the crazy one here? Her reality is it needs to be covered. My reality is, yeah, but it needs to be neat.
Oh man.
So it it made me start looking at reality. There's what's reality, what's real, what's,
Yeah. And shared reality.
Yeah. So, I kind of being with people with dementia has opened up my mind to what's real.
Yep.
What's reality. And I think I have a larger view of what reality is, because it varies. And from day to day, from minute to minute, even sometimes with her, sometimes she'll be like just angry and mad and no, I don't want to get up at, no, I don't want to change. No, I don't want this. No, and then 5 minutes later, she'll be completely different.
Yeah.
So I'm the one that has to keep adjusting to the situation, because she's wherever she's at, and I have to shift my reality. You see somebody over there. Okay. Yep. Who is it? I don't know. I don't know either. I guess they left. Things like that.
Does it feel like I feel like that? I feel like my own reality shifts. It's not necessarily as extreme, but there has been something powerful for me when I've worked with folks with dementia, where I'm like, oh, this thing that's here is just stripped bare for you. Like the movements, the shifts, the changes, there's less transition. But I actually experience quite a bit. I could experience parts of myself that are doing that, which again, I think brings back to that question of what is the nature of reality? And
yeah, I've had to expand my view.
Yeah.
Like I said, of what reality is, because being with somebody 24/7 with dementia, it bounces around.
Yeah. Yeah.
It definitely bounces around. And sometimes she'll say things that are just completely off the wall.
Yeah.
And taking a left turn. Other times she'll say things that are
deeply profound.
Right. I'll read you one of them, because I write those ones down. The other day I told her, I love you. And she said, I know. And I said, well, how do you know? And she said, because you make yourself present when I'm around.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's to me was deep. It
Yep.
wasn't one of those cuckoo things like, hey, can I eat those pair of scissors? It's not food. I don't care. Well, you can't eat them, Mom. Yes, I can. No, you can't. It's a pair of scissors.
Yeah.
So it goes so in and out. And I just have to go with it.
Mm.
You know, I have to, for it to be a good day in the house, I have to adjust to what's going on, because she's doesn't have the capability to.
I want to take a pause with that for a sec. For it to be a good day in the house, I have to adjust.
Mm-hmm. And it'd be okay. I mean, I've gone through being pissed off, being resentful, being mad, being all of those things, but it doesn't go well.
Yeah, that.
There's no benefit really to that.
Yeah.
I let it happen if it's happening for me, but I just can't hold on to it because it hurts me.
Oh, I let it happen if it's happening and can't hold on to it. That's rad.
That's what I've had to, as far as, you know, when we talked initially, the caregiving has become a practice for me, and it's so that I could survive. And not just survive, but thrive.
Yes.
So within the context of being with somebody 24/7 with dementia, that's like having a baby sometimes, but a big baby that isn't going to get older, but only regress more. I've had to come up with different strategies at different times.
Yep.
Come up with different tricks, comes up with different tools. But I'm the one that has to keep making it be good for me and her. You know, that was the thing I would, you know, I feel like she's my job. She's the person I need to take care of. That's what, you know, she needs the attention. She needs the whatever. But I was laying in bed the other night and I had a stomach ache and I wanted my liniment to put on my tummy. It's like, just get up. Just kept laying there, get out of bed. Just go get it. Just get up. Just get up and go get your liniment. That's all you need to do. Get up. And I thought, well, if Mom was yelling out or needed something, I would have jumped up right away to take care of her.
Totally.
And then I was like, get up. And then I said to myself, part of your practice is taking care of yourself. It's like, that's not part of the practice. That is the practice. The practice is taking care of myself within what's going on.
Within what's going on.
Right now, you know, and right now it's taking care of my mother with dementia and all those sorts of things. And I've had to, when I was taking care of her husband, I suffered. I didn't have the wherewithal or the tools, or I had just started doing some meditation. But after taking care of him for a number of years and knowing I had Mom, it's like, I got to change what I'm doing for me to take care of me so I can stay healthy in this.
Yeah.
You know, and be okay,
and really
more than
be
okay,
alive,
good, and be alive,
to like live
your
my
life.
Yeah.
Yes, I have to live my life within the context of what's going on. That's why I kind of, one of the strategies I used was, it's kind of like a tango dance.
Yeah.
So somebody leads the dance and you follow, but within the confines of that dance, you can do little free form, little foot kicks, you know, or whatever. So it's like, so that was a strategy at one point. Just realizing I don't have to be here. I want to be here was a big difference.
Yeah, I wanted to come back to that because that feels like a really important seed for anyone who's listening who does caregiving. And actually, not just caregiving. I actually feel like this is just
your job. Anything
that you're doing,
putting energy into.
I get to be here. I want to be here versus I have to be here. And that begins to unenslave the mind.
Completely. I even used to, in some ways, when I had a professional job, I would just say, I'm exchanging my labor for their money.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's okay. When I felt like, you know, I was doing things I didn't want to do, or, you know, I wasn't fearful of having a boss or a job, or, you know, I just like, well, I give my all. I'm giving my 110% for them giving me money. And when it doesn't work for me anymore, and I'll go do something else.
Yep.
So I've had to, my mom's been my job.
Yep. For a long time. Almost 10 years.
Yeah. Well, between Mom and Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then before that, I was doing caregiving for somebody else. So I also said, like, if I can take care of other people's mothers, I can take care of my mother. But it is different.
Yeah.
It's totally different.
Can you share some of that, like how it's different?
Yes. The other ladies that I took care of, I went into the relationship with them already having dementia.
Yeah.
So that's how I knew them.
Yeah.
Was dementia and their personality and who they were and, how they behaved. And one of the women that I took care of, her daughter would come around and I think, she sure has a stick up her ass around her mom. I didn't quite understand why she was so, I don't even know what word to use, but she just kind of had an attitude around her mother having dementia.
Yeah.
But then taking care of your own parent and knowing my mother as my mother, but then knowing my mother in her dementia, different people. And I could understand that other lady's daughter, just what she's going through,
Yeah. And was that daughter a caregiver for her mom?
No.
Okay. So this is another piece, is you've been in this practice of your own evolution as a caregiver. And that ends up mattering. But also, I've been thinking about complex parental relationships since you and I talked about doing this podcast, because, I think some people end up in caregiving positions with parents where you have a complex, potentially abusive relationship.
Completely.
And separating that.
I had to separate my mother's poor parenting skills. With me as a child and growing up, versus am I like being resentful and mad here because of my time right now, or am I like pissed off because she was a bad mom when, and
man,
stuff's coming up from that as opposed to just what's happening right in the moment.
That's a big deal.
It was totally.
What are the mechanics of discern? Lauralee, what are the mechanics of discerning a present frustration and something that's coming up from past trauma or past experience? For you,
I just had to keep looking at it. Like, is this what's happening now, or am I mad about then?
Yeah.
I just when it would happen, I would just have to stop and question it instead of letting it carry on. I'm sitting here yelling. Am I yelling because I'm pissed off? She was not present as a mother, and I've been her caregiver the whole time.
And then she gives you the gift of those words of like, I know you love me because you're present with me when you're with me. Yeah. And that's pretty incredible. That's a pretty incredible gift that you've restored for her.
Yeah. It's been bittersweet. I mean, some things in the happening of the moment, I want to cry, but in the retelling of the tale, it's funny. Yeah. Some of the stuff is pretty funny. Yeah. So, I just had to, even sometimes I still like, is this old stuff or is this what's happening now? But it's getting easier. The more that I've been meditating and doing Qigong and the things that I do for my self-care.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the being pissed off about what happened when I was younger with her as a parent.
Yeah, it's not.
And just therapy. I've done some reading and saw a therapist for a little bit when this first started, a Buddhist therapist, which was quite helpful. just being able to put some voice to that.
Yep.
And I've made a T-shirt. It's in my mind. I'd rather be a martyr than feel guilty. So it's like.
That's awesome.
So I was like,
I made a T-shirt in my mind, and I wear it sometimes.
And I have my mom on hospice now, and the social worker was here the other day, which is more for me, somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, what are you going to miss most about your mom when she passes?"
Wow. Yeah.
And I was like, frankly, my mom has already passed.
Yeah.
The mom that I knew, that we shared things and did stuff together and where we bonded, that's been gone for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I really didn't have an answer, because right now, what am I going to miss now? I'll get to go do stuff I want to do. So
Totally.
The reality of it is,
Yeah.
it's.
Oh man. Yeah. This feels like an eddy to this conversation about layers of grief and timing of grief, because there is a grief when a parent passes, and with longstanding illness, particularly with a degenerative cognitive disorder or disease.
The anticipatory grief.
The anticipatory grief, and how real that is. Like, what was your experience when you began to notice your mom, as you knew her, truly become this different person?
Mm-hmm. When did I notice it, or what did it
feel
or
like, how did it feel? Yeah.
It was heartbreaking, frankly.
Yeah.
It was really, it was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because the strong, smart, funny, vibrant, spunky, all that stuff about her woman, she's still there.
She's still spunky.
There's a shell of it there, but to get up and go do something and hang out and go outside. And we always played word games, dictionary games, and synonyms and homonyms, and how many words can you make out of this word? I mean, that was a big thing for my brothers and myself with my mom, to play those kind of word things. And now she really doesn't have that many words.
Yep.
So no, I don't know. She's who she is right now. So I guess I just kind of roll with that. And I think it was more difficult for my brothers, because they don't live around here and wouldn't see her as much, where I see her every day. They see her bigger chunks of time. Yeah. And they can see a big difference. And I think it's upsetting to them. Yeah. One of my brothers used to come and visit, but he has since passed. And he'd be mad at her because she wouldn't understand what he was trying to say. And I could see, like, he's where I was 2 years ago. Yeah. Or whatever, just like, she can't help it, hon. Yeah. Her brain's gone. Don't yell at her because she's, isn't clicking with you anymore. Yep. Oh, I just so appreciate, this is one of the reasons, well, I just really like you. I like you. and we live in the same town, and that's really nice. But I remember when I first met you, and just hearing some of this conversation that you're having with yourself around working with your mom, Patty, and how real you are around the whole spectrum of emotion, of your experience, of just all of the textures that come, particularly with dementia, that come because you're, as you named, you're constantly needing to adjust, and you're adjusting not only to a changing reality in day to day, moment to moment, but like what you just touched on with your brother noticing, a bigger change. Like you're also in that, like, you're in long arcs of change with her, where she's really, she's radically become a different person. Yeah. I mean, I did a care plan maybe 2 years ago. So if people were going to come over and sit with her, so I could go do something of, this is what she likes to eat. This is how we toilet. This is how we do all these, activities of daily living, blah, 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 blah. This is just, all of that was all written out, so they wouldn't have to think too much. But I went through the others, like, well, this isn't true anymore. Well, that's not true anymore. Well, she doesn't feed herself anymore. Well, she can't get up and go to the bathroom. She's changed in bed. Just all the losses, kind of, that, her face changing, her mouth changing, so she can't wear her teeth. So now, she likes little hamburger patties. I mean, she can't eat little hamburger patties now. So just all of that stuff that has changed, and continues to change, and I know it's, having taken care of other people, I know kind of what's coming down the pike.
Yep.
So that's one thing. I think I wasn't the mechanics of taking care of people. I've done that for a long time.
Yep.
So a lot of that stuff isn't a surprise.
Yeah.
But just the emotional,
The inner world.
the inner world. Yeah.
Your inner world. You've given us so much
And
gold
hers.
already. So, and hers. And hers. Thank you.
And hers.
You've given us so much gold already around this. So I'm just going to highlight some things that I heard you say so we can just touch on
And
them.
I don't want to make it seem like everything's great. And I mean, it's been crazy making a lot of times, but it's finding what I need so I don't go crazy in the process, or, just suffer as little as possible.
Yep.
Because it's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking. It's funny also too, one time I said, Mom, do you want some lunch? For funny things I write down. I said, you want something to eat? And she said, wasn't lunch supposed to be included in this? It's like, yeah, lunch is included in this, Mom. So she'll just say,
she's still so spunky and funny.
Right,
isn't lunch included in this cruise?
And she's lying in bed.
Oh man.
So, but that was a couple years ago. She's, and I was like, eat what? Eat what? Your food, it's in front of you. What?
Yeah.
Eat it. What?
Yeah.
It's a moving target.
Even from a few months ago, I can see some changes from a few months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another question that I had for you, because you've given hints and I personally want to hear more about this part of your life. How has your spirituality, the ways that you've like sought and studied, how does that show up in your daily life?
You like with my qigong and things
yeah,
like that,
a few minutes ago you were like qigong and meditation, and how did that birth for you? Like how did that come into your life? How did that capture your heart?
The meditation came in quite a few years ago when I was going through a situation that was quite painful. So I was staying with a friend, and she's a Buddhist, and I was just started flipping through her Buddhist magazines, and it's about suffering, and
you're like relatable.
Who wants to ascribe to a religion? It's all about suffering. I was very flippant about it, but then it's like, that's not what it's about. It's trying to, for me, it was using meditation to suffer less.
Rad.
I'd been introduced to meditation a long time ago, but it just never really clicked, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'd studied Aikido in the past and martial arts, so I kind of liked all that sort of thing. But as when I was taking care of Mom's husband, Jack, I got cancer in my face. And I know it was from just anger, repression, all kinds of things. So I knew when I would be having to take care of Mom, I have to take better care of myself.
Yeah.
So I am like, eat organically and, cook all my own food and all that sort of stuff. I'm physical, but I realized I had to, when I looked up things, what do you do to mitigate stress and keep your cortisol down? It was like, meditate.
Yep.
Get plenty of sleep.
Yep.
Things like that. So I just pursued that more.
Yeah.
Just, those were the things that were kind of lacking.
So this started from flipping through a magazine at a friend's house.
Well, kind of.
Rad. How does meditation assist you in not suffering? Like what does that actually look like
for me? I can regroup.
Yeah.
When a lot of this political stuff was happening.
Yep.
I found myself very angry and freaking out, and family members were being affected directly by what's happening politically.
Yep.
And I was extremely angry, and I thought, and just sick about how mean things that are happening in the world, and people being hurt, and just a whole cascade of things. And I was going to call the Buddhist monk that lives in this area to ask him, well, what do you guys do? And things are so fucked up, that you maintain. And I thought, I don't need to call them. I know what they do. They meditate.
Yeah.
So I just sat and meditated, and there's a particular piece of Tara stuff that I like to meditate to. So I listened to her. I listened to that piece of meditation, and it calmed me down.
Wow.
So I was able to, okay, regroup, get up, carry on.
Yep.
And the Qigong is a physical meditation. I think that I could do that. Just, it helps.
Yeah.
It feels good. I can go to a place. When my brother was dying, he passed in September, and my mom and I went there for the month of August and stayed to take care of him. He was on hospice. And I asked my Qigong teacher, we'd done a few things, and I just, one of the poses, one of the movements, it was for a warrior stuff. And I knew I felt like I had to keep going into battle to be there with my brother, take care of my mom. His wife was elderly, clean the house, cook the meal, all the stuff. I felt like I just needed my reserves and I needed to be a warrior. So I would just go outside and do this one particular movement.
Yeah.
Just to embody that and find that strength. And then he passed and we came home, and I realized my mom's going to be passing probably this year, I'm guessing. But being the warrior, I didn't need to be a warrior. I needed to open up my heart and have more compassion. So I worked with my Qigong teacher, just more movements that would
support
that. So I draw on different aspects, different movements to whatever's going on for me at the time.
Beautiful.
It's been very helpful. Open up my heart. How do I, there's a movement called unraveling the heart. And when people die, your heart's going to break.
Yeah. So
it's kind of trying to embrace that.
Yeah.
In a way that I find it helpful.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. What are the mechanics of meditation for you? Because there's all kinds of different meditations.
Sitting over there.
Yep. Perfect.
Just gonna sit over there on that couch and sit. Actually, I meditate quite a bit in bed before I go to sleep.
Ooh, rad.
And when I get up in the morning. So I'm kind of a lazy meditator. I like lying down and meditating.
Thank you. Me too.
And when I'm outside working around, I like to think of that as a working meditation.
Yep.
And just kind of be aware, okay, you're walking, you're lifting, you're doing this. Just be, aware of what you're doing. And
with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Washing the dishes.
Yeah.
I used to a lot just trip out in my head and make up all these stories. And since meditating and reading a lot of stuff about the brain and how the brain works, I can catch myself much quicker at the sink. You're tripping, Lauralee, you're making this up. This is a big story. That's not what really is going on. Nope. So it's helped me just get back on track quicker than tripping.
Oh, I love that. For some reason, dishes does that to me too. When I'm doing dishes, I'm in a state where I'm all of my anger arises.
Right.
And being part of, somebody asked me recently in a call, what's the difference between practice and just doing something? And I think that's a really excellent question. And I'd actually like to ask that of you before I even consider giving an answer.
What's the difference between practice and just doing something? I think we can just do things automatically.
Yeah.
Without much thinking, and but even if it's habitually, out of habit, out of, a way that you're used to using your body mechanics, or, cleaning the house, just this is the way that I do it or whatever, where for me, the practice is looking at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just looking at it.
Yes.
What are, you're just going through the motions, or you're aware and conscious what you're thinking and what you're doing and what you're feeling. I used to think that I couldn't change my mind. It's like, well, this is just who I am. And, how do I change this? This is how I'm feeling. This is me. But I don't, from meditation and the Qigong, I realized I can change my mind.
It's pretty profound.
It is.
A lot of us, I've been talking a lot about this with folks in my practice lately about, somebody said yesterday, I'm built like this. And I was like,
this is me. This is who I am.
I know, or I'm a kind of person who does this, doesn't do that, likes this, doesn't like that, is good at this, is bad at this, is good at whatever. And I'm really curious about, in my own practices and also companioning others, and also from you right now, like what it takes to change your mind.
I've had to read some books about it.
Yeah, me too.
Change your mind. Like, oh, here's your brain.
Yep.
These are the parts of your brain. This is parts talking.
Yep.
What part of your brain is saying this?
Yep. And even that, like 95% of who we think we are is determined by the age of 35. And most of that is determined by the age of 6. When you're observing how people solve problems, essentially, like you're watching, like, oh, my parents have, stress around money. And even though we get the thing, there's stress. We might like be wired towards that. And it's in the body, like the body is holding.
Visceral, it's habit.
Exactly.
Reading about how the brain works has really been eye-opening for me. And I was for a while. I'm not doing it so much now, but there's a Monday meditation group of some ladies in the Olympia area I was belonging to. And just, the lady that was leading that meditation was real helpful. It just made me, gave me some insight, which then turned me onto some books to read.
Yep. Rad.
So,
any books you would recommend for anyone watching this?
There's a book called Aware by Daniel Siegel. That one was a good one. There's a book it's by Jill Bolt Taylor. It's about the brain. I don't remember the name of it right now, but that one was very good. I liked that a lot.
Rad.
I have it in the other room, but
we can find it later and maybe put some.
Yeah. How to Change Your Mind.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That's an explicit title.
Just the Jill Bolt Taylor book, she divides your brain into 4 parts. And I think she's a neuroscientist or something like that, but she'd had a stroke.
Yeah.
And part of her brain, she realized, like, you're having a stroke. And the other part of her brain is like, this is so cool. I'm just melting in with the trees and the wall. And this is great. And the other part of her brain is like, you need to call someone. You're having a stroke.
Wow.
So being able to figure out which part of my brain is talking to me.
Yeah.
When something specific arises, that was really helpful.
Yep.
It's like, oh, this is my, shaming part of my brain saying this.
Yeah.
This is my, she had a thing like circle of wagons, have the other 3 parts of your brain talk to the one part that's, giving you grief or whatever.
That's pretty amazing.
So that was helpful. Tara, I like the 21 qualities of Tara. So doing that practice. My acupuncture's been very helpful. Just both my Qigong teacher and the person that I do acupuncture with, they'll say, well, what do you need? What's going on? And I'll say something, it's either a physical something or it's this is what I'm feeling, or a mental something, or I don't know, I just need an adjustment. You tell me what I need. They both have been great in working with me to, and they both always are like, well, what's going on for you? And adjusting that. And my friends have been great. I couldn't do this without my friends, frankly.
Yeah. Oof.
I mean, they've even told me, I told my friend, are you guys going to come over and they have garbage and use the dumpster? And she's like, no, why? Oh, I was just wondering, do you need me to come over?
Yes.
Yes,
I do.
So them cluing into and knowing me of like what I need and just being there, stepping forward. It's been awesome. And the other thing I feel really lucky about is, you know, a lot of, especially early on, I would read caregiver blogs and all that.
Yeah.
And they're married, they have kids, their in-laws live with them, they have a job.
Totally.
You know, their siblings are bitching at them about how they're handling it. I didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
My child's grown, I'm single. My brothers are very supportive of whatever I would do. So I don't feel like I had any flack from anybody, which a lot of people, it looks that are caregivers, just have to, you know, hear blah, blah, blah from other people of how they should do it. But, you know, it's like, I'm the one doing it.
Yep.
So quit telling me how to do it.
Yep.
You know, and my brothers were like, I couldn't do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, so I don't feel like I feel like I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Within this whole time, I feel like have it pretty easy compared to some people, frankly, that are caregivers.
I really feel that a component of that, I don't think it's the whole thing, but I think a component of that is that what I witness is that you've made caregiving a practice. And one of the reasons why this podcast exists, why we are having this conversation about practice, is that small actions really do accumulate and become profoundly substantial.
Yes.
And it creates ease in a way that if you're not staying present to that unfolding, including the contractions, not just the generative unfolding of like, everything is cool, I'm learning how to expand my heart and give love to somebody who's like falling apart. But like the contractions of really staying keen on when anger arises, really staying keen on when trauma arises, on staying keen when the grief arises.
Yeah.
And being with both the contractions and the expansions and the generous reality of that, and the presence, the quality of presence that happens through visiting it, which is which I heard was the definition from you of what practice is, of looking at it, like staying consistent with looking at whatever is here.
Right. And sometimes, you know, it'll be like, I'm going crazy, Mom, you're driving me nuts. I'm gonna go outside.
Yep.
I'll be back in a little bit.
Yep.
I got the walkie-talkie.
Yep.
Call me if you need me. But I need to go away right now for a little bit and regroup.
Can we? Okay, so you're touching on it, but I would love to suss it out a little bit more of like what is my question? My question has something to do with like the mechanics of your day. What are the mechanics of your day? Like
mechanics of my day?
Particularly when things like you just said it, of like, I need to go. How do you like schedule time away? Do you ever have a day off?
Every Tuesdays I have set aside for myself.
Thank you.
I have my acupuncture.
Okay.
Like twice a month, and somebody will come in and sit with Mom.
That's rad.
And my qigong, I Zoom. So that's usually Friday mornings.
So yeah, I'm glad we're circling back to your qigong teacher and acupuncture, because caregivers really need to be taken care of
completely.
And I had a dream. I had a dream a couple weeks ago where I had been caregiving in the dream. I had made a bunch of really beautiful food for everyone, but didn't eat any. And then when everyone went to bed, I made myself a very sad, tired dinner, like a really it looked gross, but I was going to eat it anyway because I knew what it was and it was fine. And one of the people who was in the house came downstairs and they were like, "No, you're not eating that." And I was like, "It's fine. Like, it's fine." And she was like, "No." And she made this feast. She had turned this sad meal that I had made, into this feast. And I was like, right, why wouldn't I give myself the same beauty, the same nourishment, the same things that I would give to other people? Else. And it's curious because we hear that all the time, and it's so glib that we can pass over it. And it's actually really, really lovely and radical to hear how you're claiming those spaces that, yes, it's more than a full-time job to caretake for Patty, middle of the night, all the time. But Tuesdays, twice a month, twice a month at the acupuncturist, and Zoom calls, and like,
Yeah, I do. Well, I try to do that every week.
yeah,
We get about 3 times a month.
yeah,
With the weather, I love the weather change. It gets warm. I have different tools if my mom gets out of bed, which she doesn't so much anymore. But I
yeah,
have a pad that if she steps on it, there's an alarm, and I have a baby monitor. The one half stays near her bed, the other half I take with me outside.
Yep.
So if she needs anything or gets out of bed, it's like,
Yep.
I'll be right there.
Yep.
Stop! Don't move!
Don't move!
Don't move! I'll be right back. So those tools have been very
Yep.
helpful. And yeah, it's, I try and live my life. I go back to the tango dance. I try and live
Yeah.
my life within the structure that's going on.
Yep.
You know, I'm going to go outside. And that's what I love when other people will come over. I have friends that'll come over, and I had a friend come over the other day with his ukulele and sit in the room with my mom and sing
Yep.
songs and play and talk to her. And it's not in my nature to just sit with her next to the bed talking. You know,
That.
I have things I want to do and need to do for me, and a lot of it involves being outside and moving around and working in the yard and, you know, physical labor. And she was that way.
Yep.
You know, and one thing she used to just say all the time, I go back to a lot of this stuff that, you know, when you talk about glib statements, she was full of them. But one of them was, you know, you can't be good for anybody else if you're not good for yourself.
Yep.
And it's true.
Yeah, it turns out.
It turns out that one's true.
Some cliches are cliche for a reason. Yeah. Yep.
So, you know, I
man.
try and, like, I got to take care of me. I can't, you know, I just saw with the cancer thing happening. It's like, I have to take care of me or this is going to kill me. And I'm not ready to die.
Yep. That.
I'm not ready to die. I want to take care of her, but I need to take care of myself.
Yeah. And really live.
And live my life. And I feel like I'm living my life, the life that I have chosen within the structure of what's going on. I'm doing what I want to do.
Yep. Rad.
So
that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't be here. I don't think if I just let just taking care of her be the whole picture.
If your t-shirt was really true. I'd rather be a martyr than be guilty.
Right.
I love that you're touching on the importance of people, and it doesn't have to be you. This is what's cool. The importance of people bedside listening,
Completely.
Talking. In fact, I'm looking forward to coming over and hanging out with Patty and doing that because it's actually one of my joys. I did chaplaincy with folks with dementia for a long time. And
I mean, the hospice chaplain is a wonderful woman.
Yep.
She used to teach, I think, preschool.
Yep.
And then she's a chaplain, and she has a lot of similarities. Like her 2 daughters played the trumpet. My mom and her mom played the trumpet. Rad. Her mother was a watercolorist. My mom did watercolors.
Rad.
So there's lots of things. And she just sits and talks with she doesn't talk to my mom. Yep. She doesn't ask my mom questions. They like completely engage when she's here. And I'm so thankful for that, because I don't engage that way with her at all. It's not my way. I'm a, maintenance mom. I can take care of her and clean and safe and healthy and well fed and happy. But as far as like giving her that, bedside 24/7, it's just not, that's not my nature at all. So when other people come over and spend time with her, it's wonderful for me.
I love how you're saying there's something different to me about saying it's not in my nature because you actually really know that you like being outside, versus like, I'm not a kind of person who, or, the aspect of your question of like, I don't think I can change, and then realizing you really can.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's not about changing and becoming somebody totally different, right? We change to become more of ourselves.
Right.
And other people can actually come in and fill in those gaps where it really isn't in our nature to sit and talk about trumpets or whatever.
It's not me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just not, our things that we used to do was play word games, and she's not there anymore.
Yep.
So, the fun things we did together, we don't do those things.
Yep.
Just because she's not capable of it
Yep.
anymore.
We have about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
I'm going to see if anyone is here. June is here. If June has a question, I invite you to consider putting it in the chat. And just a left field question, because I'm just curious how you're going to respond.
Okay.
What's the wildest thing that you have done or that's happened in your life?
The wildest thing?
Yeah.
The wildest thing
that you feel like you want to share on a YouTube video.
I've had some good adventures.
Yeah.
I lived in Japan for 2 years. That was fun. I rode my bike across the United States with my son's father. That was fun. I don't know. I've enjoyed my life. I know that. The wildest thing. I'm not real wild, I guess.
I don't know. I think riding your bike across the country is pretty wild, actually.
That was good. Pregnant.
Pregnancy
I got pregnant on my bike trip.
Dang.
I met another woman on the bike trip, and she was pregnant also.
Dang. Okay. Well, that's the wildest bit of
There you
Lauralee is
go.
getting pregnant on a bike trip across the country and being pregnant while riding.
Yes.
While riding.
I don't know. I enjoyed my life. I have my property living up there. I've enjoyed that, but I haven't been up there for like 7 years. I've been down here in my mom's house, taking care of them. I don't know. I'm not that wild, I guess. I've done
That's
lots
kind of why I wanted to ask you the question.
My friends would be like, don't you want to go do this? Don't you want? No, I'm a homebody.
Yeah.
I don't mind being at home and putzing around and folding clothes and rearranging things like that. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Jack, my mom's husband, used to say to me, "You're your own person, Lauralee. You row your own boat. You might only have one oar, but you're rowing your own boat." And I think that kind of sums it up for me, really.
Yeah. You're rowing your own boat.
You're rowing your own boat. One oar, you kind of just go around in a circle, or you got to go like this to keep moving. But yeah, I think that's accurate about me.
Honestly, that's kind of accurate about me too. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so obsessed with practice is that I have one oar, but my circumference gets a little bit wider each time I go around. That when I visit something and revisit it, I know it more deeply, and I care about that. That's really part of why I'm here, to know things more deeply, not just intellectually, but through an embodied knowing.
Right. I think that's true for me too. I feel like I'm becoming more myself in all of this stuff.
That's exactly how you started this conversation. So I'm loving that this is where
I feel like I'm becoming more me.
Yeah. Yep.
Looking forward to the future.
Yeah,
it's going to be different.
That's going to be wild.
It's going to be very different.
I actually think that's maybe where that question came from, because I feel like maybe the wild hasn't happened, but it feels like the texture is going to be different. It's maybe like, do you feel like caregiving is on the other side of this threshold when your mom passes?
Like I'll be taking care of somebody else?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, right?
Well, with the lady that I took care of before with dementia, her son was like, hey, and I'd already taken care of somebody before her. It's like, hey, will you come take your mom? No, I really don't want to. I really don't want to get into that. I just got out of it. But then when I met the lady, it's like, sure. So I say, no, I want to just kind of focus on myself a little more.
What might it look like to actually hold that?
To focus on myself a little more?
Yeah, like what would it be like to set some generative living agreements with yourself for this time for, not that we're planning or waiting for Patty to die,
Right.
but there's
It's gonna
this,
happen.
there's this tending, this, it feels like tending a garden of like, how are you going to prepare for your abundant harvest of your own garden when your mom dies?
I'm getting rid of everything.
Yeah.
I'm clearing out my house. I'm clearing out their house. And I want everything I own to fit in my little Frida, my little travel trailer.
Dang, that's cool.
And go back to my own home.
Yep.
I have a huge house up there that I want to turn into like a retreat.
Yes.
For you to.
I know. I want to collaborate with you.
I have a little tiny cabin that I want to move into. So I want to live in my little cabin, and what I own is there, and have my little travel trailer, and be unencumbered.
I want to be unencumbered. That just feels like it's spoken, so now it's going to reverberate. I want to be unencumbered.
I want to be unencumbered.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff. My folks have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff. I'm in the process of getting rid of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to dump it on my son to have to deal with my stuff.
Yep.
So I want to just get freer of things.
Yep. Yep. Wow, Lauralee. You've already said some things. We have about 4 minutes. I want to see what June said. June said, I don't know if a question is arising, just very grateful for this beautiful conversation and your sharing of your spirit and journey, inspired by listening to you both.
Oh, thank you.
You've already given some practices, and so I'm going to highlight what I heard, but I am going to ask you, just in case there's anything more you would say. A practice that I heard you say, let me find my notes. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's from before. Looking at whatever is arising. Another thing I heard you say is wanting to be here rather than feeling like you have to be somewhere. That feels like a quality that could underride a practice. Yeah. But if you were to give a seed of something for folks who are on the cusp of caregiving, or maybe in a journey of caregiving as a practice, what would you offer?
Take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, completely.
Completely take care of yourself. And that might not be meditation or whatever. It might be you like to sew, or you like to paint, or you like to garden, or take care of yourself. The other thing is, I found it difficult to ask for help.
I was about to like add that. I'm like, and also invite others into.
That was my friends kind of forced that on me. And yeah. I am appreciative that they did, because for the most part, it's like, I can do it. I can take care of myself. I'm competent. I know how to do this. And when my mom was a little more mobile, it's like, let's get in the car and we'll go drive and go get your medication. And she's not that way anymore. Yeah. So it's, I have friends that's like, well, I'm down at that part of town, once a week, I'll pick up your mom's meds.
Yep. Rad.
Okay. Thank you. So being able to accept that help.
And to be in this practice of asking for help. Like what I heard you say earlier was like, you would call your friends and be like, do you need to use my house for any reason?
Like, and do you have garbage to dump? The dumpster's empty.
And having friends who can hear us in a generative way of like, what I hear is that you're asking for me to come over. And to like build, a lot of the messaging in the current context is like, just ask for help. And it's like, it's not always that simple. Like we're not always, cultivated, or it's not always like safe enough to practice that, but to be in friendships where you can practice that. And
calling a friend at 11:30 at night, like, my mom might be dying right now.
Yeah,
she's really acting differently. Will you come sit with me?
Yeah.
And be like, okay. And then they get here and my mom's all, oh, perky. I guess she's not dying. Sorry, I know it's midnight, but bye.
Yeah.
And then I have great friends.
You do. You do have great friends.
I do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have to take care of yourself. It's the get up, get out of bed, Lori,
Yeah.
get up,
Yeah.
get up for you, get up for you. Take care of yourself.
We're going to end it there. Get up for you. Yeah. What a pleasure to
Thank
be
you,
in this
hon.
conversation. Yeah. It's so sweet to be live with you too, because as June said, like there's just you have such a presence, and it's
Oh,
really
thank you.
sweet to hear your stories with our hearts almost facing each
Right.
other. We're sort of facing you and sort of facing each other. Yeah, thank you for sharing your
Oh, thank
life
you,
and
hon.
this practice and your stories.
Great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for what you do. I'm always amazed at, all the things that you're doing.
Well,
So
I'm just compelled from within to keep making.
so
So
you go, girl.
that's my practice. Thank you
Awesome.
all who are here live, and for you who are watching later. We gather every month on the third Friday of the month at 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Eastern. And next month we have Kelly Londa, and we're going to talk about art and tattooing as spiritual practice, which I think is going to be really pretty rad. And if you're curious about how we do in this community, you can find more at innerlifecreations.com. And thanks for being here.